Welcome, everyone. Take a moment to think back to when you were a child. Do you remember how long summer vacations seemed to last? Now think about the past year. Didn't it feel like it flew by? This common experience raises a fascinating question. Why does time feel like it's speeding up as we get older? Let's explore this phenomenon, uncover why it happens, and discover what we can do about it. The shrinking proportion of time. One of the simplest explanations comes from the way we perceive time in relation to our age. When you were 10 years old, a single year represented 10% of your entire life. For a child, that feels like an eternity. However, as you grow older, the math changes. For a 50-year-old, 1 year is just 2% of their life. This shrinking proportion makes each year feel progressively shorter because it occupies a smaller slice of your lived experience. It is similar to driving on a long road trip. In the beginning, each passing mile feels significant, but the farther you go, the smaller those same stretches of distance seem. Time operates in much the same way. The more life you have lived, the faster time seems to pass, at least in your mind. The role of routine and novelty. Let us consider how our brains process time. Think about the last time you traveled somewhere new or started a fresh activity. Chances are those experiences felt vibrant and memorable, as though they stretched time. The human brain encodes time more richly when it encounters novelty. This is why vacations or significant events feel longer when we look back at them. In contrast, when we fall into routines, the brain does not need to work as hard to process information. It essentially goes on autopilot. Days blur together when they are filled with repetition: wake up, work, eat, sleep, and repeat. Because fewer standout memories are formed, these periods of time feel compressed. This explains why childhood, filled with new experiences, feels so expansive. Children are constantly learning, discovering, and encountering firsts. For adults, who are more likely to stick to familiar patterns, the lack of novelty makes time feel fleeting. Childhood versus adulthood, how focus changes. Children experience time differently from adults because of the way they focus on the present moment. For a child, each day is a series of mini adventures. They explore their surroundings, learn new skills, and absorb experiences without distraction. This intense focus on the now allows their brains to create vivid, lasting memories, which in turn stretch their perception of time. As adults, we often split our attention. We juggle worries about the future, regrets about the past, and endless to-do lists. This mental multitasking prevents us from fully engaging with the present moment. Instead of savoring experiences, we rush through them. Over time, this habit contributes to the sensation that life is slipping by faster and faster. The influence of culture on time perception. It is also important to consider how our cultural environment shapes our perception of time. In fast-paced societies, where productivity and efficiency are highly valued, time can feel scarce. Phrases like "time is money" reinforce the idea that every moment must be accounted for or used wisely. This constant pressure often makes time feel like it is speeding up even more. In contrast, cultures that prioritize leisure and community tend to experience time differently. In these environments, people slow down to savor meals, conversations, and unhurried activities. Time is seen not as a resource to be managed, but as something to be enjoyed. This cultural framing influences how individuals perceive the flow of time, reminding us that our environment plays a role in shaping our experience of it. Memory and time compression. Our perception of time is also closely tied to how we remember it. When a stretch of time is filled with vivid, unique experiences, it feels longer in hindsight because the brain has more details to recall. However, When our days are monotonous or uneventful, they blur together in memory. This is why a week-long vacation can feel richer and more expansive than months of routine work. In essence, the more markers your brain has to distinguish one moment from the next, the longer time feels in retrospect. Without those markers, weeks and even years can vanish in what feels like an instant. What can you do to slow time down? The good news is that while you cannot stop time, you can slow your perception of it by making intentional changes in how you live. Here are a few practical strategies. Embrace novelty. Try new experiences regularly. Whether it is exploring a new place, learning a new skill, or even just taking a different route to work, novelty forces your brain to focus, creating richer, more memorable moments that stretch your perception of time. Focus on the present. Engage fully with the moment you are in. When you eat, savor the flavors. When you talk to someone, really listen. This mindfulness helps slow time by anchoring you to the present. Create meaningful memories. Plan activities that matter to you, such as spending quality time with loved ones or pursuing hobbies that bring you joy. These moments become the markers that make time feel fuller in hindsight. Reflect on your day. At the end of each day, take a few minutes to reflect on what stood out. Writing in a journal or simply thinking about meaningful moments can help you appreciate your time and make it feel less fleeting. Step away from the clock. In cultures where time feels abundant, people often pay less attention to rigid schedules. Whenever possible, let go of the clock and immerse yourself in activities that bring you joy without worrying about the minutes ticking by. A final thought. Time is not truly speeding up. It is our perception of it that changes as we age. The way we live, routines, distractions, and even cultural norms all contribute to this sensation. However, the beauty of perception is that it is flexible. By embracing novelty, living in the moment, and creating meaningful experiences, we can reclaim our sense of time. So go ahead, step out of your routine, try something new, and savor the richness of life. After all, the goal is not to stop time, but to make every moment count. Take your time heading back into the world after this discussion, and while you're at it, challenge yourself to do one thing differently today. You might just feel the clock slow down a little.